basically. And he lived on my floor in my building. And so it was like almost impossible not to run into him. And so I'd be coming from the playground or the store or whatever, and I'd run into him, and then he would always ask, like, "Oh, well, how old are you?" And of course, it was always the same answer: "I'm 14." And so um, after a while, since he lived on my floor, he knew my mother's working patterns. She worked night times, and so he would come to the door and like knock on the door and try to talk to me. And I talked to him through the crack in the door. And then I think it was the third day, he broke in, and he actually, so I have a sister too. So he broke in. My sister was on the phone. Let me set up. The way our apartment was is on the first floor. There was the kitchen and the living room. I was sleeping on the living room couch, and my sister was on the telephone in the kitchen. And so he broke in, and he fought with my sister, and he actually got a knife from our kitchen, and he fought with her, and he stabbed her first. And I was sleeping on the couch, and I just like I assumed that I heard something in my sleep, because I don't actually remember. Uh, I don't remember any words or anything that was said. And I knew that they were fighting. I knew that it was him. So I jumped up, and you know how it is when it's really dark and you can't see. So there was like about this this amount of light that I could see. And I ran, I saw about that much light, and the next thing you know, I was out. So that being out, that was actually the time when he stabbed me. That's when he stabbed me in the back. The back, the back and the neck. And so at that point, that's what paralyzed me. And I fell down on the kitchen floor, and I wasn't able to move after that. But him fighting with my sister, she was knocked out at that time. And then she came to after I was paralyzed on the floor. And then they began to fight. And I remember there was this television behind me that we were supposed to throw out, and it was in the kitchen. And when I woke up after being stabbed, I could see that TV shaking above my head. And I remember thinking, "Oh, please don't let this TV fall on my head," you know. And then I think I saw his shoes or something. I know it was so much noise that it disturbed the neighbors, heard it, and one of the neighbors came banging on our door. And
Mm.
then he went to run away, and I saw his shoe, and that's how I knew it was him, definitely, because I knew his shoes. And I'm like, I said his name, and I'm like, "Why are you doing this to me?" Then he came back over and stabbed me in the neck. And then he took a one of our dining room chairs. We lived on the second floor, bust
Mhm.
out the window, jumped out the window, and ran away. Yeah.
So you're saying he ran away, but didn't he get caught?
He got caught. I think it was about 2 weeks later. I'm not sure exactly, because I was in the both me and my sister were in the hospital. But we had friends, family, people were looking for him. So he was hiding, but he wasn't hiding far away, you know. And they eventually found him and let the police know where he was, and
Oh,
and they got him like that. Yeah.
wow. I am so sorry to hear that. So now I remember you saying, okay, let's go back to when he stabbed you in the neck. Apparently, he was trying to kill you. Was that the part that paralyzed you, or you think it was before that?
That was the part that paralyzed me. So when I ran toward the kitchen, I never saw him. So I had to think about it and try to guess what happened.
Mm.
So I know that I ran toward the kitchen. I know that I didn't see much, I was just waking up. So it was really dark, and I just saw that pinpoint of light. But then as I saw that light, that was all I ever saw. And then I woke up in the kitchen. So apparently it is my guess that at that time when I entered or faced the kitchen door, that he stabbed me from behind. Like maybe our bedrooms were upstairs. So maybe he was heading up there. But yeah. So at
And
that point, yeah,
you
as I
kind
was
of
entering
interrupted
puberty,
his plans with that.
yes.
So now you saying how old did you say he was?
He was 18. I was 14,
You were only
and
14.
that's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead. You were about
So
to say something.
yeah, I was 14, he was 18, and my sister was also 18 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now for the people, I know sometimes we can have a stalker and we know about the stalker. But in your case, you had no idea that this dude was apparently in his mind thinking you were some sort of a couple. Is that possibly what he was thinking? You two were together some sort of way?
Now, I'm not sure exactly what he was thinking. I was not thinking of him. I was not thinking, oh, I have a stalker at the time. I was a lot, I was thinking like, I don't want to run into him. I was thinking of different ways to get back to my house without running into him, but I never put it together and thought stalker. And then with the way he was thinking, it was like, maybe he was pursuing me, and then he felt like if if he couldn't have me, then nobody could. So the days that he was coming to my house, he did ask me if I had a boyfriend, and I told him, I didn't lie, I told the truth, I did not at that time. At 14, I wasn't even thinking about being in a relationship with anyone. So then I think on the third day, I had I actually did have a boyfriend at that time, but it was someone I was on the playground with, and he was like, "Oh, would you like to be my boyfriend?" It was somebody real cool, and I thought about it for a minute. A lot of my friends were talking to people to talk. They were talking to guys, and I was like, gave it a second, thought about it. I was like, "Yeah, why not?" And then so when the guy came knocking on my door the third day, he was like, "Do you have a boyfriend?" I was like, "Yes," and I think that really. Uh, that upset him. He was like, yeah,
So he was
if I
actually
can't
coming
have
to
you,
your
no one else.
house to ask you that.
He lived in my building on the same floor that I did.
Right.
So yeah, so
So I'm
it
just
didn't
curious,
take
when you
long.
would tell him no, you didn't have a boyfriend, what happened after that?
He just came back another day. So
So he would come
yeah.
knock on your door and say, "Hey, Shannon, you have a boyfriend?" You say no. And he's like, okay, and walk away.
He would have other conversation which I can't recall because that was a
Okay.
long time ago. So
Right.
he would try to talk to me, and it wasn't a long conversation, but he would basically. I remember one time he was like, and this really was gross to turn off. He was like, "I'll show you things you never seen before." I'm like, "No, thank you." But so it was conversation like that, you know.
So now, did he ever ask you if he could be your boyfriend or would you like to be his girlfriend? None of that was indicated.
He probably did, and and of course my answer was no. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And so you believe when you finally said, "I have a boyfriend," is that's what sparked the jealousy in him?
Yeah. And one thing I forgot to mention is that he actually, the day that he tried to kill me and my sister, he was on drugs. So he had knocked on the door, and my sister had answered, and she said he was talking crazy, talking about like purple fire trucks or some stuff like that. And then she told him, I was asleep. She was like, Shannon is asleep, and closed the door, and that conversation had ended. And then he came back while she was on the telephone talking to a friend, and then broke in.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then there was a local newspaper article about it, and they said that he was on drugs. And it was also a news story later, and they got everything mixed up. They showed my sister as being me, and then they said that my sister was actually in a relationship with him. Nobody was in a
Mm,
relationship with him. That's
wow.
absolutely false. No one was in a relationship with him.
Ugh,
Yeah.
leave it to the
I think
news
that's,
reporters, huh?
yeah, yeah,
Now, I'm glad you brought that part up because I know there are going to be skeptics on here and they're going to be like, ah, yeah, she said something, she did something to make this man go berserk. What do you have to say to them?
yeah. That is absolutely untrue. Um, I didn't do anything. I was actually, someone asked me once, they asked me what my injury was. And I told them I had a spinal cord injury. I got stabbed. And then they kind of came with, kind of leaned close and was like, well, what did you do? I didn't do anything, you know. Think about people who are out here innocent getting shot, people who are sleeping in their beds or watching TV or eating at their table, and then they just get shot by a stray bullet. Well, I didn't do anything. And a lot of times when crazy things happen and people say, I never thought that could have happened to me. Well, it's one of those things. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything to encourage it, to encourage him. Um, I don't know. He
Yeah,
just did what he did.
right. And I'm glad you're sharing that because this thing is real. Stalkers, um, they have in their own minds something that they've just totally concocted and believe. And so he most likely thought that there was a chance between the two of you. I know you were just like you saying you were only 14. That wasn't where your head was. But imagine there are still things like this happening today to people. Now we hear about celebrities being stalked, and that's natural because their life is out there. But then what do you do about the average person going around their days, not even knowing or having a clue that this bugaboo is actually on something else? And I want to just go right quick to highlight the comments. Joe said, "Wow, this story needs to be a movie. Thank you for sharing and being so vulnerable with your life." And you're right, Joe. Somebody like that is a psychopath, and who knows how, what other terms that could be used when it comes to people like this. So now that you've let us know, the full background of what happened, take us to the damages after he caused this horrific event in your life, the devastating damages. What did that cause for you?
Okay. So I was paralyzed from the neck down for about 3 weeks. I was in intensive care during that time, during those 3 weeks. And then I was in Children's Hospital in Chicago. And then they moved me to a private room. And I had lots of my family were coming to visit me, and they would sing silly songs. And then one day, uh, they were singing this song, and my foot moved on the right side, the stronger side. And that's when, my family let the doctors know. And that's when they realized that my spinal cord injury is incomplete. So
Oh,
from there, let's see, there was a lot of physical therapy. I had to learn how to uh, eat again. Oh, and the physical therapist in the beginning, uh, I used to hate to see her coming. I loved her at the same time, but it was really frustrating in the very beginning. So I would to learn how to eat. There was a she would take my fork and tape a lotion bottle around it. So then I had like this because I have difficulty gripping with this hand. So I would take that lotion bottle and then bring the food up to my mouth. It was very slow and it would drop. And I preferred it when somebody else helped me, but she was like, "You got to learn how to do this on your own." So um, let's see. So I probably stayed in the children's hospital about maybe the entire time was 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And then I was moved to a rehabilitation hospital, RIC.
okay.
Uh, yeah. And from there, I learned how to uh, walk again, and I had physical therapy and occupational therapy every day. I had to learn how to write again. I was always left-handed, and they wanted to switch me. I was proud of being left-handed, and so they wanted to switch me to the right, and I'm like, no, I'm left-handed, you know. So one of the things that they did to help me, and again, my left side is my weaker side, which is why they wanted to switch it over to the right. Um,
Mm.
they got this big contraption called a balancing forearm orthosis. And I would be sitting in a wheelchair at a desk, and they would slide this mechanism behind my wheelchair, and it had a sling on it that would hold my arm up, and then I would move the muscles in my shoulder. And there was also they put like a splint on my hand that had a holder for a pen, and I learned how to write again by moving those muscles in my shoulder. Um, so there was a lot of therapy, and by the time I left out of the hospital, I was using I could walk short distances using a what is that, the walker. So it's probably about I could probably walk about 7, 10, about 10 feet with that uh, with the walker, and then I was also in a wheelchair.
Okay. So now the fact that you were paralyzed also means your sensations were thrown off. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, yes. So one of the results of my spinal cord injury was that I got brown cigar syndrome, and what that is for my case is that the my my stronger side has less sensation and the weaker side has more. So when I was in the hospital, my sister used to just always rub my leg. I think it was I don't know if it was more comforting for her or for me, but she would rub my leg. And then once I was able to move again, I started getting sensation back. And so the if she was to do it on the right side, I would feel nothing at all. But over on the left side, that slight, rubbing sensation, it hurt. It actually hurt me. So um, it has gotten much way better now. But there was also a point later after I was outside of the hospital where I was washing some clothes, and the water, it was cold water, but I didn't know it. And I thought I burned myself, in the water. Um,
Mm.
yeah. And so it's a very odd thing to explain. It's just a weird sensation. Sometime after that, I was walking with, I might not even been using my walker at the time. I'm sorry, my cane at the time. Um, because I'm out of the wheelchair now. I wear a brace on my left leg, and um, there was a time where I was using the cane and then not using the cane. And at this period, I think I wasn't using the cane, but I was out, and someone had touched me, on my back, light tap, but I didn't know it. And it felt like a fly or something was on my back. So I'm like wiping my back. Then I turned around and realized someone was there. I'm like, oh, that was pretty embarrassing, So I just kind of,
Right. Now, what
yeah.
about the incident I remember you telling me about when you went to the grocery store and was on the bus?
Mm, yes. Okay. So this was a crazy, crazy incident. So I went grocery shopping, and I was carrying my grocery bags on the train, and the train was pretty crowded. And then I sat down, and there was only one seat available, and it was next to me. So this guy got on the train, and he was standing, and I, moved my bags over and told him, "Here's a seat right here." And so he sat down next to me, and I was, looking ahead and just thinking about other things. And then my leg, it felt it started feeling really warm. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, I know I don't have anything hot, in my grocery bags. And so then when I looked down, he had his hand between my thighs, you know.
Mm.
And I was at a loss for words, and I turned to him. I was like, "Your hand is on my, you got your hand on my legs, And then he moved his hand, and I think he got up after that. And I'm not sure exactly what happened, but then I mean, what the time was from when he stood up and it was time to get off the train. But it turns out that he got off at the same stop that I did. So I let him walk, and I kind of stood back for a little bit, and
Hmm.
then went on home. And he didn't follow me or anything like that. But I was very upset. And when I got home later and was thinking about it, I actually cried after I got home.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was upsetting. So now I know that you were saying how wonderful your sister is, and that's a blessing. I know that must be nice to have a sister so wonderful like that to be right there by your side. That's a sister who's a friend is a blessing.
Yes.
Um, One of the things that you were saying how it did affect your ability to use your limbs. Did this also stop you from completing school, going to school and finishing? How did all that affect you?
So it could have. When I was in the Rehab Institute of Chicago, I was really ready to get back to school, and I was bugging them about it. So what they did was they got me a tutor,
Hmm.
and then once I got home after the 3 months was out, I think I had a tutor maybe a couple of weeks after that, but then I got a lot of help from uh, my father. Um, he would help me with my studying a lot. And when I usually stay with my mother, but after
Okay.
I got to the hospital, I stayed with my father, and he would like carry my wheelchair down the stairs. To I caught a bus for that. I don't know if it was a year or longer than that, but he would carry me down and take my wheelchair down, and he created study plans, and basically all I did was go to school and come home and study. I had notes to study that he made for me on the bus, and I came back home and studied and went to bed. And doing my homework was it was really tough because I was just learning how to write again. So writing a single page, just a single page of work could take me all night long. So a lot of times I was falling asleep while I was doing that homework, which is that's
Mm.
why that's all I did. So
And so you are a testimony that the struggle is real when it comes to somebody else, especially altering your entire livelihood for your life. Jolisa, I want to add in, she said, what a powerful testimony. You are strong and you are resilient. Thank you,
thank
Jolisa,
you.
for those beautiful comments.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, you went to college, right? And
Yeah.
you wanted to major. What is it that you wanted to do? I'll let you tell us the story.
Um. So in college, so let's see. I received lots and lots of love and help from my family. Um, I don't want to minimize that in any way, but I don't know about for other people, but for me, when I wasn't able to do for myself, um, all of this assistance and help that I was getting, it's sort of like didn't really register that much. It was like, yes, everyone is helping me. But then as I got stronger and was able to do more for myself, I wanted to do the things for myself that I could. And an example of that is like, uh, I had we went out to a group of family members went out to eat breakfast or something at a restaurant, and
Hmm.
I struggle with cutting my food. So it didn't bother me. I knew it takes me a long time. But when other people look at me, they think that I need help. So this relative took my plate and then cut up all my food for me, and then gave it back. And I went ahead and ate it. I didn't want that, but that's just an example of how there was a lot of things being done for me that I should have been doing for myself, and I didn't want to have to
Mhm.
um, fight for the little things. I needed my independence, and so I
Right,
decided that when I went to college, I wanted to go away so I can know for myself that I could do things on my own. And I always
right.
knew if it didn't work out, I could come back home. So yeah,
Okay. And but it worked out. That's that
it
positive
did.
attitude,
It
and that's
did.
a blessing to
Yeah,
have that type of
right.
mental setting that you have. That's what kept you going and made you make it. And so now I know you originally wanted to major in art. Is
Yes,
that
yes,
correct? And what
yeah.
happened?
So I actually did major in art. I I got assistance through the Department of Rehabilitation Services. I had a great counselor who helped me get into Howard University. Um, at that time, I didn't have a portfolio, and so I went in. I entered as a um, undecided, and
Oh,
so once I got into school, I think the next year, next semester, something like that, I switched my major over to fine arts, and I got to be, an art student, and that's what I graduated with, a bachelor's in fine arts.
all
So I
right.
did lots of, yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah.
You
I did
did it.
lots
But
of
now
drawing,
didn't you
ceramics,
wanted to
and then
draw? Didn't you want to draw or paint or something like that? And there was some problems with you doing that?
yes. So I did I did drawing, and I switched over to animation, but after graduating, um I would draw, but I kind of stopped doing that because I have um my arm is I still draw with my left side. Remember, I didn't want to switch to being right-handed. And so I'm still using my shoulder muscles, and so it causes me to be really slow, and then I'm also shaky, almost a like a mild version of cerebral palsy,
Mm-hmm.
so the more I try to focus or pinpoint a particular spot on the paper, then my hand starts to waver a little bit. So
Okay.
um, I just kind of got frustrated with it. So I may go back again, but it's not something that I would do. Uh, it's something I would do for enjoyment now, but not for a
Okay.
career.
Okay. So now what are you doing for a career now?
Oh, uh, now I'm in computer arts.
All
I'm
right.
sorry. Let me say it again. I'm a programmer. So
Okay.
I work with application development. So that's
Okay.
creating software uh, for different companies, their internal applications, not the applications that you sell outside, like a Microsoft Word or something like that. But I
Okay.
actually got that interest while I was in college. I switched to a computer arts major. I switched my major a couple of times within art. And
Okay.
that last year, I decided that I needed to learn how to use a computer, which I didn't. That was like 1997-ish, something like that. And so I found a local uh, organization that taught computer basics. And I knew that's what I wanted to do ever since. I was like, okay, I want to go the computer route.
Nice. I'm so proud of you because see, computer anything seems like science for me. And that's a bit too much. So I am so my hat goes off to you, honey. You did it. I tell
Thank
you,
you.
and I am so proud of you. And even Joe is letting us know that she's proud of you as well. And
Thank
she
you, Joe.
also is saying that strong family support, that's a beautiful blessing. When you like that makes a big difference. And I hear that all the time. We hear about how a baby could be sick, but then when the baby is held skin to skin, it helps in the healing process. So your family support was definitely an awesome plus. Oh, and Jolisa also says she would love to see some of your artwork because she absolutely loves art. So maybe one day
Yes, I
you'll
love
get
to
a chance
share
to
with
show.
you.
That would be
Yeah,
nice. So
absolutely.
yeah, make sure you guys hook up, connect so you can stay in touch.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
now I want to go back to the perpetrator. I was
yes.
just wondering, how much time did he get?
He got 50 years, I believe 25 for parole, but he did other things that I don't know as far as the timeline wise when they occurred. So he got the 50 years for trying to kill me and my sister. Then there was something else with like assault on uh firemen or something like that. And I believe he also did something after he got arrested. So additional years were tacked on. So
Yeah.
um yeah.
See, that
So
to me, that's
I'm not
still not enough. Go ahead.
yeah. I'm not sure when his release date is, but it's approaching.
Okay. Now, what happens if it when he's about to be released?
Um I hope that we get alerted. There was quite some years back, my mother spoke to someone with in Department of Corrections, and I think she got on a what is it, email list or whatever, the notify you list, um,
Right.
where she should be notified. But that was a long time ago, so I'm not sure how it works now, but hopefully it still applies.
Okay. So, do you know if he was that most likely charged with attempted murder? Is that what the charges were?
That I can't remember. There probably is it, you know. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that's what
yeah,
I'm thinking. The years that he got sounds like that's possible attempted murder.
yeah.
But if you're just
I
joining
knew at
us,
one time. Oh, sorry. I knew at
no,
one
go ahead.
time. I knew at one time because every once in a while we would look him up to see if he was still.
Okay.
We would look him up on the DLC website, but I
Right.
haven't done
Okay.
that
So
in a
the
long
Department
time.
of Corrections is where you would
Yes,
have to go and see what's happening with him.
yes,
Well, if you're just joining us, I want to let you all know Shannon was stalked by someone she had no involvement with, and he decided he wanted to stab her, possibly attempting to murder her, basically because she told him she had a boyfriend. And Shannon never even dated this dude. So, in his warped mind, he thought something more was happening here. And I just want to let anyone that's out there watching and listening know if you are suspecting anything that somebody is trying to harm you, you definitely need to call 911 first because that's an emergency. But if it's something that you have questions about and you need to know more about, contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline. I have it up here on the screen. You can go to the website or the phone number. They even have texting services. If you're Spanish, you can get the Spanish interpretation. If you're hearing impaired, there's the TTY services as well. So please reach out and get the help you need because this could have cost you your life, Shannon, and thank God you survived and made it through.
yeah.
Um, it was another thing I wanted to ask you. Have you forgiven the perpetrator?
That's a good question. So, I don't think I ever carried like a lot of hate or anything, and was never really like, why me? Um, but I don't know if it's really like forgiveness or not. I'm not sure if that's the same thing. So
Okay,
basically, I would be fine if I never saw him again, but I don't wish death on him, you
right.
know. So yeah.
And you never had that feeling of hate with toward him at all? Like you never wished he was dead or you wish somebody could hurt him or kill him or none of that?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I
that's
just wish
awesome.
that we could be safe from him. That's what I've
Right.
always wished. Yeah.
Okay. And so when you say that, are you scared of him?
I am not terrified, but I am not looking forward to him being released because I don't know what that means, and I think that I may uh, have a lot of concern for our safety, you know. So, would he try to retaliate? Is he finished? Is he past? I don't have answers to those questions. So,
Okay. So if you saw him today, just randomly on the street, what do you think will happen to you?
that would freak me out. I I don't know.
Yeah.
What would happen to me? I don't know. And I would hope that he would keep on going and not say anything.
Okay. Well, hopefully he won't recognize you by now. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
that's what I'm hoping to. If you ever had, hopefully you never have to see that Joker, because
Right.
this is ridiculous. I mean, it's mind boggling that somebody could be just doing their own little life, going their own little way, and you just never know what to expect. And the fact that you didn't want to see him or have him around even at that age, you knew something wasn't right with him. And then he just proved that there was something not right with him. That
Yes.
is, I can imagine the ordeal. I can only imagine what you experience or what you're even going through now, because I'm sure, this is something that you really never forget. You can't forget it because he is the reason it affected your life today. And thank God you're a positive person, or you wouldn't have gotten as far as you have today. And that's a blessing. Yeah. So, we have a question here. Jolisa wants to know, can you voice these concerns at his parole hearing?
I don't know. I've never been uh to court. I don't know what would happen at his parole hearing. I've never been contacted before, so
Okay.
I just don't know how that would work.
Right. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. If I was contacted, I would express those feelings.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, this was an issue for you, I believe you were saying, because you wanted to move at one time and you couldn't move to a specific place. I'll let you tell the story.
Okay. So I have moved a few times, and then there were people that I knew in the area who had lived in our neighborhood and knew this guy, and so I hesitated. I shouldn't even say I hesitated. I didn't reach out to people that I felt was, were my friends, because I felt like if he ever got released, that information could get back to him. So I didn't reach out to others because I didn't want, this guy to know where I was, by the time he got released. Because I think it would be uh, a very easy for him to get that information. And I don't think that it would have to be uh, anyone would intend to, I don't think that anyone would necessarily have a malicious intent when they gave that information. It could just be general conversation, you're hanging out, whatever. Um, One of the things I forgot to mention is that I was new to that apartment complex that I lived in, and people knew him already. He was released from juvenile detention center. So there were people that knew him before they knew me. And
Wow.
so his reputation preceded him, So
Mm-hmm.
and uh I was aware that they already knew him and that he had did things, and that I already was not interested and not comfortable around him, but that added to it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that makes sense then. Yeah. You having a bad feeling and then getting confirmation that he was a bad person or did bad things already. It's unfortunate, but oftentimes people who are or have been in trouble, went to jail, they come back out and do something else. Now, some people get rehab, don't get me wrong. Some people learn from the errors of their ways and never do it again. But then there are those who are just repeated felons. And it's unfortunate, but it's real. And it's just something. I'm not even going to get started on our justice system. That's a whole new different topic for a whole different day. But I wanted to add, Jolisa was saying that you and your sister's voice needs to be heard on those concerns um, as he attempted to murder you all. And that is so true. I don't know. I guess this may be a little tricky for you because sometimes when you're a victim of something like this, you kind of want it to just go away. You want to just stop, having to think about it and deal with it. But then on the other hand, you just hope it doesn't happen to anyone else, but
Right.
hey, it is what it is. Um, so let me see. Wait, Jaleese also added, she says, I think you can write in your concerns to be read at his parole hearing if you don't want to be in his presence. It could have a big impact on his release. Something to think. Have you thought about doing
I,
something like that or?
I hadn't, and I would honestly look into that. I hadn't
Mhm.
thought about it at all.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think it's worth looking into because, oh my God, I tell you, you just never know. With life, things happen and you just have to learn to deal with it as it comes. So now
yeah. And thank
let's
you,
get
Joe, for
on.
the
Huh?
suggestion. I said
Oh,
thank
you
you, Joe,
telling
for the
Jolisa.
suggestion.
Oh, thank you
Yeah.
for the suggestion. Yeah, that's a great idea, Jolisa. Thank you for that. So now one of the things that people are not aware of that, and I'm going to pop it up here, you absolutely enjoy shooting pool. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. So I love the game, but I always have to clarify that I'm not like a shark or anything. Because I play and I have my own cue sticks, and I used to wear my gloves sometimes, and then people automatically were like, "Oh, she's sharking us." I'm like, no, no. I just enjoy it. That's it.
Cool.
So one of the houses that we lived in had a pool table in the basement, and I would try to play then. And then later on, as I don't know, maybe in my 20s, I actually went out on a date, and the guy I went out with, we played pool. And I was so terrible, he never wanted to take me to play pool again. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn on my own. So I got books and I took a class and I learned the basics. And eventually, for a long time, I stayed about the same. I plateaued, but then eventually I had about one session where I played in a league. So I'm not good, but I enjoy the game.
Nice, nice. See, that's why I picked you for this show because you are the epitome of empowerment, honey. You know when it's time to improve what you need to do to make things better. I love it. Love it. Love
Thank you.
it. And so now let me see. Jolisa is saying, we're here to support you in the endeavor, sister. Anything. That is so right.
All right.
Thank you, Jolisa. That is
I
beautiful.
appreciate you.
So now I want to ask you, thinking back on that moment or time in your life, I know you were only 14 and as a 14-year-old, we don't know what's really happening yet. We're just innocent, basically. We know a lot, but we don't know nothing. What would you do differently if you had to go back to that time and change anything? Or would you change anything at all?
Um, that's another good question. So I I know what I would probably think now is the number you had up, the national what's the number?
Domestic violence hotline.
Domestic violence hotline. Yeah, maybe calling that would that number, they might have some suggestions, because as I'm thinking right now, I did not connect what was happening as being stalked. I was concerned. Um, I don't know that, well, I'm pretty sure I would not have turned to my parents. And I believe that the hotline probably uh, could provide some sort of direction on what might be the best thing to do. So
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. You said you would not go to your parents, and that's how a lot of teenagers feel. Children don't feel comfortable going to their parents. Now let's discuss a little bit more. Why wouldn't you have gone to your parents?
it's not a thing of not trusting or not being close to the parents. It's not that at all. It's a concern for, it's out of concern for their safety also, because the threat was real, you know. I think the fact that I got stabbed proves that the threat was real. Um, there were plenty of people in the neighborhood who earned their reputations. Um, and I was aware of that. So I wouldn't want to, you know, the first thing you think that a parent is going to do is run to that person and tell them, you know, don't mess with my child or whatever. And then I fear that the next step would be their retaliation, you know, whether you're no, they don't care if you're an adult or a child, you know. So
That is an absolute truth, and that's how perpetrators get victims to do what they want, is to make them fearful. They threaten the family members, they threaten your life, and this is how the vicious cycle continues, to be in fear. It takes that one person to empower themselves. Do it safely, though. You have to be safe. And that's the tricky thing. You know, it's so hard when you want to help somebody out of a situation when they feel like their lives are being at stake. But then what do? You have to think. And one of the things I say, if you can think of that one thing that will help you to get through a situation, because when you're dealing with a stalker, whether you know they're a stalker or not, you got that gut feeling. You have to follow that gut feeling. Now, I'm talking to the adults too, because I know a lot of teens, you know, they are going to be fearful, and they're going to think like, you know, oh, I don't want him to hurt my parents or anything. But the best thing you could do, kids, is talk to your parents. Let the parents take some of that concern about what to do in a situation, or talk to an adult, any adult. If you are a teenager, find someone to talk to, and hopefully you can contact this National Domestic Violence Hotline. They will give you some advice and some resources to direct you to where you need to go to get the help you need. Um, I'm going to go over here to the comments. I see, oh, Jolisa says she loves your spirit. Now she's going to learn on her own. And so another comment is, what would you say to women? Oh, and that's one of my questions that's coming up. And Jolisa's basically saying it in the, oh, but let me go with Jolisa's questions first. She says, what would you say to women who have a different perspective about not forgiving the perpetrator or having severe hate toward the perpetrator who created harm to them?
I I kind of think that having that hate would be draining as far as my energy is concerned, and that if I put all that focus on him, I lose the focus on myself. I didn't make an effort to not think about him. That's just the way it was. But I feel like, if I know from experience, when I've been upset at people in the past, just little things, maybe uh, a fight with a sibling or a relative or friend, and then I get so upset, and then all my energy is on them, and I don't like the way I am when I'm feeling that. So I think it's more uh, positive and productive for yourself to not give that person that power. Don't give them that power, and don't pour your energy into uh, hating that other person.
I love
Let
that,
them be.
Shannon. It's kind of like that quote that's out there that says, when you hate someone, it's like you drink the poison, but you're hoping that they would die. So you're just basically poisoning yourself to keep that darkness within you to hate. Yeah, it's so much easier to be in a better space, at least try to be. And now, don't get me wrong, I want to remind those who are possibly still in domestic violence situations or dealing with something, because that confuses a lot of victims and survivors when you tell them to forgive. We're not saying you have to do that. Because some people think once you forgive, that means you can go back and let them do it again and continue to be in the
Mm.
abuse cycle. That's not what we're saying. It's once you're out of it, it's time to release them and focus on your own healing. That's the most absolute important part of moving on and progressing in your life and becoming that badass, empowered woman or man that you were meant to be. One last question I got to ask, because I see we're running out of time. But now I want you to give um, one of your inspiring words to people of whatever it is you want to leave with them. Let them know what it is in life that helps you to be who you are and continue moving on with your life.
I'll say one thing that I don't think I focused enough on when I told this story is the love and support of my family. Um, and the fact that when I was in the hospital, I was I was recovering and doing my therapy. I was never told that I wasn't expected to live or walk. I found that out after the fact, after I was walking. So I think I know there's a lot of power in positive thinking, because for me, I always expected that I was going to walk again. I never knew that to think otherwise. So I think positive thinking and to always have a goal. So I've been told by the doctors before that I've hit a plateau, and a lot of times they'll say, well, you're doing good. This is as far as you're gonna get. But if I think that this is the end, then I'm gonna get complacent. Then I'm gonna get lazy. Then I feel that I would end up start going backwards. So I'm gonna always have a goal and try to do more. So if I'm not reaching for something, I just don't know, what happens. So basically, what I'm trying to say is positive thinking
I
can
love
get
that.
you.
I love that. And yeah, dreaming is very important. You got to have dreams. When you don't have anything to look forward to, you remain stagnant. And that's not what life is supposed to be about. Everything in life changes. So that means we need to change too for the best. Progress, improvement, empowerment. What We Win Queendom is all about. I want to go back to the comments here. Let's see. Udine Duke says that's powerful. That's powerful. Jolisa said, I love that. The power of positive thinking. Yes. And then we have Udine. Thank you for sharing your story with us, Shannon. May God continue to bless you. Yes. Beautiful story. Beautiful. And just the fact that I have known you for over 20 years.
Yes,
And
that's a
Shannon has
long time.
always been a sweetheart. Huh?
I was just saying it's a long time.
It is. It is. And so I know you have always had that kind, loving spirit, and your I guess your humbleness, the subtle way that you speak, the softness. You said something the other day that tickled me, which is so true. People take you for being slow, or as some people would say, touched, but You know what's amazing is those people who are the quiet, soft spoken ones are the baddest. I'm telling you, that is one thing people don't recognize. When you're the quiet, soft spoken one, you're usually the one who is thinking about things in life, who have a powerful message, exactly what you have. And I certainly appreciate you, Shannon, for coming here and being my first uh, debut person for my first day of this show. And I just want you to know you keep on being who you are, girl, because that's bad. That is a bad woman right there. And I want to tell everyone out there who tuned in, I appreciate you for being here. And I hope you return. I'm going to be doing this every Sunday, God willing, as long as nothing else come up, interviewing people right here, because there is so much that's happening in life and people don't realize we need to share our lives to help empower someone else. And that's exactly what I'm believing Shannon's story is doing, my story has done, and so many more out there who have powerful stories. And with that, I'm going to make this announcement right here. I am Marvina Sims, your author, advocate, empowerment coach, and queen, goddess warrior of We Win Queendom. My spirit showed up here today to either irritate, eradicate, or edify yours. Brittle Never Broken is not only the title of my impactful memoir, but it is the experience of all of our victorious lives. This is a daily reminder to those in need all over the globe. You were born for a time such as this. Only you get to decide what the this is for you. Remember, you deserve the best, which is why starting now, you will only be accepting words of encouragement and uplifting attitudes via validation, confirmation, and revelation. We're here live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube and Facebook to expose, empower, and impact. Join us to see who will be sharing their life right here on Share My Life TV at We Win Queendom, where women empower women in need, because that's how we win. So if you or someone you know have a story about something that happened that was devastating to you or your loved ones, yet you bounced back and became even better, living your best life, sharing your life could save someone else's who may be experiencing something similar to you. So send me a message either on Facebook, Instagram, where We Win Queendom, at We Win Queendom. Be sure to go there. And remember, our goal is to expose, empower, and impact. Thank you all again for joining us. I appreciate you, Shannon. We will be talking soon, real soon. Take care, sweetie. Bye bye, everyone.